I had previously talked to you about DownComforterGuide.com and analyzing the traffic and sales data from this website to identify particular pages that would be worthwhile doing some updating with to either increase traffic and or sales, preferably both. Well, today I would like to actually walk you through what I'm going to do to the IKEA page that I had singled out in the previous training. After examining this page a little more closely, I believe I have figured out a plan of attack that I would like to take. I want to point out a couple of particular things here. First of all, I am talking about multiple models of IKEA down comforters here. I have the Ron, the Vet, and the Rosaglim. However, on this page, I'm only promoting two. I have a warmth rate 2 and a warmth rate 4, and it's actually both of the Ron. So technically I'm really only promoting one of those three. So I could definitely do some expansion to cover those other two. However, MISA Ron is where I am getting most of my search rankings from. So I want to be careful to maintain MISA Ron kind of as the feature of the page. They are the more affordable down comforters that IKEA produces. And then I would also like to expand the page, including the other models, and maybe even see if there are some other ways that I could expand this page in terms of adding some extra advertising to it or enhancing my content a little bit to make it a better website for people. Now, also at a closer inspection, when I read through the content of this particular page, I kind of see that I cast off IKEA as a discount or budget down comforter. Now, while it is okay to say that they are cheap and affordable, you still want to maintain a quality product appearance in terms of, you want people to actually go down and complete a sale on one of these products. So with that said, I might go back through my content and adjust it so it kind of lightens the mood on these comforters a little bit. So people are a little more inclined to want to actually buy it after they read through this particular page on my site. So I kind of have a couple different things that I can investigate here and different adjustments that I can try to make to it. So to start out with, I want to go to Amazon and do some investigation there. On Amazon, I'm looking to see what else is out there for IKEA down comforters, and in particular these three brands, and maybe even some other, not brands, but models. Maybe even some other models besides the ones that I have already mentioned on the page. So, searching IKEA, I can obviously see that there are a lot more than just two comforters. However, not all of these comforters are actually down comforters. Some of them are. I have a vet right here. This could be a possibility. That is one of the models that I had mentioned on the previous page. I also have another one that I don't have covered, Hanspar. So this might be something that I could add to the page. But then there are also some comforters that are not labeled as down comforters. This one in particular right here, Misa Stra, and I believe there are some other ones as well. Here's actually Satvidal, another down comforter. So I could investigate this one. Now, the Ron model that is kind of the feature of my page. I see that I have a lot of listings for the Ron here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 show up right here at the top of the page. And there might even be some other ones beyond that. At a closer inspection, though, I see that these Rons, when I look at the warmth rate, there's a 2 and a 4, and another 2, and another 2, and another 4. There doesn't really seem to be anything other than the 2s and the 4s being sold. So, are these different listings simply different vendors selling the product and they just have separate listings for them? Or is there a reason for the separate listings? If you actually look closely, let me look at 2 here that are in the same warmth rate 2, and down here a 2 again. If you look at the titles, this one is a full queen comforter, and this one is a twin comforter. And down here, this other 2, this is the king comforter. Whereas if I flip back over to my site, I'm promoting the full queen comforter for both of them. A lot of the other comforters that I've promoted, when you go to the Amazon product page, there's a choice of getting the other sizes. However, here, it's not like that. They're actually separate listings. So it could definitely be worthwhile for me to add these additional sizes onto my page, so I could have more than just the queen. I could offer all of the different sizes of the Myceron in warmth rate 4 and 2. And then I could go on and see what else I could add on. But this would allow me to keep Ron as the focus of this particular page, because remember, that is where I'm getting the bulk of my search rankings, especially the rankings that are actually bringing in some decent traffic to this page. So I think that is a good place to start here. So I have my content, I have my products with the Myceron expansion, and then I can expand into other products as well. So I have my page here, editing it in WordPress. I can begin with my content here, trying to clean up a little bit of what I already have there. I have here stated that all 3 could be considered to be budget or discount down comforters, although Ron is definitely the cheapest of the 3 by far. That's definitely painting Ron in a bad light right there from the get-go. Now, if I look at this particular page, I can see that the Ron has 15% duck down and 85% duck feathers. And I talk about this type of thing on my page itself. Right here, the lower quality products like Ron contain 15% duck down and 85% duck feathers. Vet is 75% down and 25% feathers, and Rosaglim uses 90% duck down. So I specifically mention that kind of quality. Now, obviously, I don't want to lie about the product, but I don't have to make it out to seem like one of them is inferior, especially the one that's bringing all the traffic to this page. I need to make Ron seem like a more appealing project. So what I'm going to do is tidy this content up a little bit. So I'm going to modify this and say all three could be considered to be budget blankets, but some use different fill powers and materials to achieve different prices made to fit any budget. Up above here, I'll change this to say affordable. So instead of saying that it's the cheapest, I'm going to say it's the most budget friendly. And I won't say by far, I'll just say of the three. And I'll say this one uses a higher fill power, but it also makes it more expensive. I could also go on to say, however, the higher fill powers are often not ideal for those living in the USA because of the warmer climate. So I'm saying that while one of them is more expensive and better, that higher fill power and the more warmth that you're essentially going to be getting out of that more expensive product, it really might kind of go to waste for people that are in the USA. And actually, they don't even sell this on Amazon.com. So that is likely a testament as to why. So what I'm talking about with the warmth rating here is okay. Down at the bottom where I'm saying they don't consider them to be the best comforters, I may want to reword this part as well. I could say, although these comforters are certainly not the most expensive on the market, They're definitely a viable and acceptable option for those looking for this type of product without a lot of money to spend. Many people actually like the simplified warmth level and find that it offers, okay, so that part's good. So I'm just cleaning up my content here, making the products that I'm promoting here sound more appealing. So again, I'm not going to call this budget or lower quality. Up here, I'm going to be careful about how I'm talking about the reason why they're cheap. Obviously, the fill is part of the reason. However, this could also be affecting climate, and obviously they're targeting a more budget-conscious group of consumers here as well. And they're, used to something not being the best, but you don't have to flaunt it in their face and say, hey, it's not the best, because then they might just look for something else. So I'm going to play around with a little bit of this content in here a little more as well. I won't sit here and make you guys watch every moment of this. So I've now cleaned up my content a little bit more, simply rephrasing a little bit of my text here to simply make it sound more appealing. I'm still leaving all the facts in. I'm simply letting people judge those facts for themselves. So now, beyond going a step further and expanding on this content even more, my other main focus is obviously the advertising of this page. I'm just going to go ahead and update my page here real quick. And I'm going to go over to product style onto the Auto Amazon page. I'm going to try to find these other products that I would like to promote. So I have the queens, but I need those that are not. So I need the twin and the king of both of these different warmth rates. So I have two twins now, and I have two kings here. So I am all set there. Now, beyond that basic expansion, I was also talking about the other models that may be available, like the Sattvidal and the Hansbar. I could potentially look into those and expand even more, but just for now I'm going to begin with these four particular products and work on expanding those. So I'm going to put these in my Down Comforter category and just do a quick ad on them for now, just to get them in the system. Now I'm going to go to my ads page so I can look at the down comforters that I have built in here. I have my queens up at the top. I actually had one other king that I had originally picked out but never actually included on the page. However, I have my four others down here at the bottom that I am intending on adding. So with that said, since I'm going to have these 6 products all showing up on one page, I don't necessarily need to be repeating the warmth rate and my Saran and down comforter every single time 6 times for each of these different products. So one of the easiest ways that I can actually handle this is to go in and edit these products. What I'm really after here is the link anchor text and the header title. It's best to simply go ahead and change both of these just so you can be sure that what you're after is actually going to get modified. So I want to wipe out things that I essentially don't need. Things that are going to be repeated from one product to the next. So for this one, I'm really interested in the word twin, and on the others, full and queen and king. However, I may want to have a little more than simply the word twin. I can kind of try to condense what I have here. I could say IKEA Myceron twin. I could leave the number 2 on it. I could also just say Myceron twin 2. I could even leave it at just Myceron and have other surrounding information that would let people know that it is the warmth rate 2. So I'm just going to go with this for now. I'm going to go with Myceron twin. And everything else here, I'm going to be leaving the same. So I want to do this same type of editing to all 6 of these Myceron comforters. So now that I've gone through and cleaned up all of my advertisements here, I can then go back to my page and see what I can do about placing these. Now, one of the things about this page here that's worth pointing out is that I'm using this comparison table where I have this product information for these 2 different products along with the picture and the price and reviews and so on. Well, since I have 6 of them now that I want to do, I could continue to try to do a comparison table like this. However, it might become a little complicated trying to include the same amount of information. However, I also want to be sure that I am preserving the SEO value that I have in this page already. And it's quite possible that some of the words that are used here combined with my own content may be what is getting me those search rankings. So I don't necessarily want to completely wipe this out. What might actually make a little more sense is to kind of break this down into 2 different sections. I have a Myceron warmth rate 4, I have some information about it, and then I have the advertisements. And I do the same thing for warmth rate 2. This gives me a logical way to display the information while still maintaining my current content here, like this text, and also allowing me to expand and add in my additional advertisements. So to accomplish something like this, I'm actually going to need to change from using a comparison chart here to using normal advertisements instead. So since I'm going to then start using normal advertisements, it becomes important what style I am using for my ads. I have the gray style selected here. However, the gray style, and honestly pretty much all of the ad styles that are built into product style by default, except for the ad-only style, all these other ones are going to be pretty large in terms of their size and the amount of information they're displaying. So I actually want to change from gray to add only, and I'm going to do this on all 6 of my ads once again, and this is going to prepare me to then be able to insert these ads into my page. So once I have all of my ad styles changed, I can then proceed on back to my page. Now I want to refresh my page here in the editor. And this will make sure that I have my new advertisements built into the product style button. The other thing that I'm interested in doing is on my live page, I actually want to be able to take this content that I'm using and apply it elsewhere on my site, since I'm not going to be using this comparison chart anymore. So this shortcode here is creating that comparison chart for me. So once I remove it, I'm not going to have this content. But this is the content that I wanted to be sure to keep in case this is what is part of what is bringing me my search rankings. So I'm just going to make a little bit of room here at the bottom of my content, and I'm going to add in my text from this comparison chart. Now, some of these things, like the product dimensions, are going to vary from one of the sizes to the next, since I'm going to be doing a twin and a queen and a king for each of these warmth rates. So the dimensions may not be something that I can keep, or I may need to modify it and list the dimensions for all 3 of those sizes. However, the main point of this, and what I'm really trying to do here, is to split this up into sections. So I could say IKEA Myceron warmth rate 2. And this would be a header text. So I could put this in bold, and I could maybe even do something like center it, or even make it larger than other text that I have. Some simple CSS coding that would allow me to make the font size bigger and align it in the center of my page. So then I can do the same thing for warmth rate 2 and 4. And then I'll have some content, which I can work on refining this content. And then down below my content is where I'm going to put my advertisements. So I can click on the PS button and insert my ads for these other products. Now I'm also going to need to reinsert the original 2 because I'm actually changing how all this is working. Since I'm not using the comparison chart, I then need the single advertisements for these other ones. So now I add in the different sizes and taking note of which is which. So I have twin and king are going to be next. That's 41 and 42. Another thing you can do since you have multiples is you can look at the numbers here and just reproduce the short code and replace the number. So I have 6 and 41 through 44. So I know this is my twin, this is my queen, that's the original. And then I have 42 is going to be the king. So I can take these same short codes and paste them down below, and I can continue on to get the other 3 by simply changing the numbers relative to the advertisement number. So now, while this isn't perfect still, this is going to be a good starting point. I could preview my page here to get an idea of what this might look like. So as you can see, I have my information with my little header, which definitely stands out from the surrounding text. Obviously, this is the content that I would want to try to clean up a little bit, so my products would be a little more easily viewed. Now, this is a situation that I have discussed before, using the add-only style where you want to line up one product next to the other. You run into this situation where you might not have the room for it. Now, for this particular product, I'm really not seeing much in the way of accessories and stuff. I might choose to wipe out my sidebar on this page and try to utilize the full width of the page, because it's actually looking like I may not be able to squeeze 3 of these ads in here together, at least not currently how they are. I would probably have to go for a smaller image size, for example, to be able to make everything fit. The other part of it, though, is going to be using the clear both CSS code, where I put this in a div HTML tag. So I have div style equals, and in quote marks, clear both. And make sure you're including the colon and the semicolon there. So I'm going to put this down below each group of my 3 advertisements. And this is going to make sure that they line up. So now, when you see that the third one doesn't sit next to it as intended, then this simply means that I do not have enough room on this page to be able to make 3 fit, one next to the other. So again, my options would be to try to rearrange how I want to display this, or I could also just simply wipe out my sidebar over here. I could select no sidebars for my sidebar layout, preview my changes a little bit, and see what kind of a difference this will make for me. So now I definitely get my ads lining up correctly. And in fact, this might even give me a little bit of wiggle room to space them out a little bit. So I can make this a more appealing page. So now the question is, how do you space out these advertisements? There's actually a couple different ways that you can go about doing this. You can add a div tag around each one of these shortcodes and do things like add a padding or margin to the left and the right sides. You can also add a div tag in the middle. Now, part of this is also making sure you're including the float, and that's what makes everything line up correctly. So I'm going to do that method, just putting one in between. And so I'm going to say div style is equal to width of, let's see how much room we have to work with here. It's a decent amount of room. Let's see what this image size is. (160 by 160). Okay, so we have probably 200 or so pixels that we need to kind of space things up. And so to add a padding in between each of them might be about 100 pixels or so. So we're going to make this 100 pixels wide, and then we're going to float it to the left. So this makes sure that it will line up with everything. And just to make sure this actually displays, we're going to put a space in it. This is ampersand NBSP and then a semicolon. So I'm going to use this in between each of the ads. So now I'm going to preview my changes, and we can see what this has done to my advertisements. You can see now that I have space in between each of them. Now obviously my alignment here isn't exactly perfect. I could definitely make this a little bit better. I could add more space in between each of these. However, I could also try to leave a little bit of space on the left and the right. And so to do that, I would really want to push everything over and actually add a little bit of space here to the left of each of these advertisements. So to accomplish this, I do the same thing I did here, except I don't want this to be as large. I'm just going to try 50 pixels and see if there is enough room for that. So you can see at 50 pixels, I created some room over here on the left-hand side. However, I have more room here than I have over on the right-hand side. So I need to back my number up just a little. We can try 40 pixels instead. Okay, so that's looking much, much better. It may not be exactly perfect, but it is pretty close to it. So we have our ads split up now. We have our sections split up. All we really need to do is tidy up this content a little bit, and we're really going to be looking a lot better. We essentially want to get it so you kind of have what you see here. You have your title, your description for it, and then your advertisements right below it. And it should all be easily viewed within about a half a screen or so in height here. So you don't want a situation like you have up here where your ads are way down below and you have all this content to the point where to see the title of it, you can't be on the same part of the screen as the advertisements. This would definitely cause some issues for people in terms of knowing what these products really are if you shorten these names on them, because then they're not going to see that title. If you keep everything really close though and make sure you have some separation from the other types you might be featuring on that same page, you could even try to shorten your titles even more. I could just have the word twin or twin comforter here. I could have full/queen and king. So I would just have those short identifying words and wipe out all the repeating stuff, the warmth rate 4 and the Myceron and IKEA. But it only makes sense and it only works if you have it closely related with a section like this, some kind of a header to go along with it. The other part of it that I mentioned was the separation. Just like I was doing separation here, you can create separation above and below things. You don't have to add in a width and float it like I did here. You can actually just go to the header div where you want to create space above it and just add a margin top. I could do 30 pixels. Preview my changes. And this is going to create a little bit of space here in between this header and the advertisements above it. I could even go more than that, it looks like. 40 or 50 pixels might even work out. And this, again, just helps to create a little bit of separation. I could also do some other things like make my font size a little bit bigger, just to help it stand out a little more from everything around it so people really know what these products are. So now I have more space, I have larger header text. So this is looking much, much better now than it was before. So again, I still have my content that I need to clean up. And in this content, I want to give a brief amount of information in terms of what the difference is in this type and the other type. But if I have this other stuff that I don't want to lose that might have the keyword phrases in it, I may even need to do a section above both of these that would just cover some general information about IKEA Myceron. And then I have a warmth rate 2 section and some text about it and the advertisements, and then I have the warmth rate 4 section and some text and some advertisements. Whatever works best and allows you to both preserve the existing content that you already have there that is already getting you search rankings, and also allows you to make the expansions that you need to make with your content and your advertising. So I'm going to do a little bit of playing around here with my page and altering my content, and I will get back to you and let you guys see how this will all look when I have it finalized. So I've now gone and altered my content. and clean things up, rearrange things a little bit to make it a little more appealing for people visiting my website. So what I have done is I've decided to give the IKEA Mysaron comforters a big heading just for this specific product line. Then I have a section for warmth rate 2, a brief description and the products. Then I have a section for warmth rate 4, a brief description and the products. Down below all of those products, I then have listings of general information for the Mysaron down comforters. This is a lot of the information that I pulled out of the comparison chart, the key features, the care instructions, product details. And then it also had a section on dimensions and filling and total weights. So what I did was I went to the 6 different Amazon products and I pulled out the dimensions and weights of all 6 of those products, and I have that listed here in this information. So I have the dimensions for the twin and queen and king sizes, and then I have the filling weights, and the filling weights are different for the warmth rates. So I have 2 different ones for each of them. So I'm still giving all of the general information that I did before, but I've cleaned it up, especially around my advertising. So I can preview my changes here to see what my page is now going to look like. So I have my introduction, getting down to IKEA Mysaron, and then I have my section on warmth rate 2 with the 3 different sizes. And then I have the section on warmth rate 4 with the 3 different sizes. Now, down below, I have my general information. And notice that I've turned all of this into bullet points. So I'm using the unordered list here. Right here, I select all of it, I click on UL, and then I click on each individual line at a time and click on LI. So I've done this for all this different information down below, and it just kind of cleans up the presentation of all of it. So if people need to know that information, or if that information is helping me out with my search rankings, that information is still there, but my advertising is cleaned up and a lot more available to people. Now there's certainly still much more that I could do to this particular page. I could continue expanding this for hours and hours, really. All the other things that I had mentioned, going on to the different models, adding in vet, seeing if I can find a Rosaglim, adding on the other types of products that I was able to find. There were a couple different models of them that were also down comforters, the Sotvidal and the Hansbar. So there's tons more, obviously, that I could do, but you should be able to see at this point how even what I have done here throughout the course of this training, how just this minor amount of adjusting can be extremely valuable and really help you in terms of making your page more appealing, likely to make your search rankings go up, and also very likely to increase your clicks to Amazon and your conversions into sales as a result. Now, one of the other things that I had briefly mentioned in the previous training was maybe putting an advertisement at the top of the page. Well, as an alternative to loading the top of the page with ads, since I have 6 different ads here that I'm trying to utilize, what I could actually do is give people an easy way that they could jump down to the bottom of my page to the relevant advertisements that I really want them to see, this stuff. So what I could do is I could take text that is higher up in my page, like right here, my Saran, and I could turn this into a clickable hyperlink that doesn't go to a different page but stays within my page and just brings them down here to the relevant section. So when I continued to expand my page even more and added on sections for these other models that I might mention up top here, it would make it a lot easier in terms of navigating that page to offer those clickable links so people could jump to the relevant section of my page. So I want to show you how to do that here real quick. The first thing I want to do is I need a destination for my link to take people. To do this, I create a link, but it's really going to be a blank link. So I'm going to have an A tag with nothing in it at all. So I have an opening A tag and I have a closing A tag. So the part that makes it able to be identified by a link is actually adding in some HTML. It's an ID. So I'm going to add in an ID, and in quote marks, I'm going to put in any name that I want. So I could call this my Saran. So I have less than a space ID is equal to open quotes my Saran close quote greater than, and then I have less than / a and greater than. So this is my destination link. So now I need to create my origin link. So this is where I want somebody to click to end up at that destination. So this is going to be my Saran up here in that second paragraph. I'm going to click on link, and where it says URL here, I want to put in the number symbol and the word that I used for the ID. So this is going to be my Saran for my example. So I'm creating a link that is pointing to this destination, and it has the number symbol in front of it. So making this change, if I go back to my page, you can see that this now becomes a clickable link. So, oh, somebody lands on this page and they were just searching for my Saran, and there's this clickable link here. They're either going to keep reading down my page or they might click on this link. And if they click on this link, they're instantly going to be taken down to this section of my page that is the relevant part that I want them to be looking at. So if I had a enormous page that was covering 2, 3, 4, 5 different models of IKEA comforters or down comforters, then my page would be rather large, and this would make navigation of it much easier. You can do simple navigation where it's just within your content, or you can even build a little bar at the top where you just have the different words going across, my Saran, my Savette, so on and so forth. It's like a little submenu. You can do all kinds of stuff like that, interlinking it like this within that page to give people an easy way to jump down to that portion of your content. So I highly encourage you to Go and investigate your own pages on your existing websites. See what kind of traffic they're getting. See what kind of sales they're bringing in. And identify the best pages that you could spend your time and efforts on expanding and making changes to them. And make those changes maybe not exactly like I have shown you here today, but this should give you a pretty decent idea of some ways that you can possibly go about making those expansions and give you some a good starting point for it at the very least. Now once you make changes to your site like this, like I've gone through and made these changes to mine, even though I still have more that I might want to do, it can be a good idea to kind of pause after a pretty big content shift. Wait a couple of weeks, possibly up to a month or two, to see how Google reacts to your changes, and also to see how your website visitors react to your changes. See if you notice any difference in your traffic and your Amazon click-through rates and your Amazon sales. Then you can use that information to try to decide if you should continue on with that page. Things like this can help you to prevent from getting too far off track and to prevent from actually destroying good rankings, because you can take a great search ranking and change your page all around and find that you lose that search ranking as a result. So sometimes making these changes little by little and seeing how they play out can be a much more effective and reliable strategy. Now, one final thing that I wanted to briefly mention before I close out this training lesson is having to do with this page itself, some of the original content that I put on this page, and why this page did good, especially why it did better than some of the other pages on my site that I had really been more interested in. I had pages like the Pins on Down Comforters and the Pacific Coast Down Comforters, where they were obviously a higher quality product. I liked the Pins on ones because that was the Amazon private label brand of down comforters. So why do I not have tons of traffic on those pages and the IKEA page is a poor performer? Well, it's not that I don't have any traffic on the Pins on and the Pacific Coast pages. I do. But these IKEA keywords are what are really bringing the traffic into my site. So it's really more about the search rankings here that has caused this page to be a more popular page on my website. And that is important to know because sometimes the products that you identify on Amazon as being the best, the cream of the crop products, the ones with the best selling rank, the ones with the most reviews and the highest review rating. A lot of times those products are the ones that most of the other affiliates are focusing on. And that brings me back to competition, something that I've talked about over and over and over again. Sometimes it is actually better to go after something that is not the best. Don't go after the best keyword. Don't go after the best product sometimes. That's also why I like to build my websites the way that I did DownComforterGuide, because by covering a couple different brands of products, I can kind of put a high product and a low product in there and sit back and watch. Let people decide for me where I put my focus on my website. The affiliate competition, all of the other Amazon affiliates that are promoting the same products as you, that can also have a major effect on the results that you receive. When you're only going after the best-selling products, when you're only going after the ones with the most and the highest review ratings on them, you end up bypassing thousands, if not millions, of other products. And it's not just you that's doing it, it's all the other affiliates out there as well. So when I'm going after a product like a Pins-On Down Comforter, because they have such gleaming reviews and it's an Amazon product, chances are there are other affiliates that are promoting it, especially now, over a year after creating my site. There's definitely bound to be many more affiliates promoting it. But something like the IKEA Down Comforter on Amazon itself, they have decent review ratings, but they don't have many of them. So this one simple fact, and also the pricing of them, where they might be a $50 to $100 down comforter, and some of the Pins-On ones might be $100 to $200. A lot of people go after the better reviews and the higher prices. Well, all that stuff kind of combined ends up resulting in many more people competing for search rankings on your more popular products, and many, many less people competing for them on your less popular products. So something like the IKEA My Saran that might not be as popular of a product, if you go over to Google, chances are there are probably thousands, if not tens of thousands, less pages on the internet targeting this product than there is the Pins-On Down Comforters. So that's where your competition comes into play, and why sometimes it is better to go for middle or even bottom of the barrel instead of the top of the barrel. It's better to get great search rankings and great traffic to a page that's going to promote a medium price product that might not be the best, most ideal product that you would like to be referring sales on. That's better than having a site full of awesome products that doesn't get traffic and doesn't get sales. So when you're building your websites and making changes to your websites, consider this. Try to put some variety on your website. This gives you the opportunity to see how things perform so you can analyze the data, make some logical decisions as a result, and in turn make some really effective changes to your website that are going to increase your traffic and ultimately the money that Amazon's putting in your pocket every month.